And I believe that that was a very powerful and living force in Dad's life, because he was able to take a situation and make it somehow rational, even though it was crazy. I think that many forces in my father's life were very difficult to explain to his children. However, his view of theology in general was reduced to a very accessible and childlike form when he said to us as kids in a cathedral in Europe years ago. We asked him, "Dad, what's with all the statues?" And he said to us, "That's just the way they do it." So in many respects, he was really very, very tied into the, simple and direct interpretation of life's essential truths. And so I was able to watch my father evolve as a creative force, even though his children were going in different directions. And as I moved out of my first house after 20 years, he asked me, well, what was it like to actually work on a house that was 100 years old? And I said, well, it was something I had never imagined that would happen. And so he was really, I think, while he wasn't always there, he was still understanding what it meant to actually follow through on a process and see it to a sense of completion. And I think that also, as his youngest son, I was privileged to observe how he was able to accept the passage of time and to find his ultimate peace being alone in his wood shop, going out to the tank behind my parents' home on Clyde Hill and seeing the drifts of sawdust, and knowing that Dad was totally oblivious to his environment because he was really at peace by using his hands and by being a creative force. And that's a very, I think, a very powerful testament to my father, and something which I will always be grateful for.
Oh, the little shrimp. Yes, there is a daughter. And being the youngest and the only daughter was actually really fun. I'm really grateful for all the ways my dad enriched my life. He was always full of surprises, and he was very confident in how he expressed himself and used his artistic talents. Whether he carved an exquisite candle holder, or answered someone with his unique twist of humor, or photographed a perfect mirror image of an alpine lake, he displayed a true artist's soul. Dad could also easily envision how to transform something that was hidden. The abandoned eyesore of a concrete water tank became a perfect wood shop that we all nicknamed the Tank. A noisy, bothersome toad became the Vesper Frog because he sang every night at 6 o'clock. The lonely tree obstructing his view of Mount Rainier received the name of the Cross Tree with its strategically placed branches. Creativity was Dad's middle name. Unique expressions blossomed in his photography, his woodwork, and his writing. A letter he wrote me from Vietnam reminded me of a great example of his creativity. He was writing, "I have used and enjoyed your tape that we made so hurriedly at home." This tape he was talking about was one of the old reel-to-reel things, and he just spur of the moment said to me, "Oh, let's go out in the tank and I'll record you singing your Up With People songs." And I looked at him like, I don't have any music. I just joined the group, I hardly know the song, and I don't have any help. No piano, no nothing in the tank. Didn't bother him, so out we went, and we kind of made this tape. I mean, he made it, but I didn't think, oh, it's so bad, he'll never use it, you know, and I was changing keys, and I was forgetting words, and I was like 12, 13. So he comes back from Vietnam and he says, oh, you know that tape? I used it all the time and played it for the guys after all my services. Okay. So he had this vision, you know, that even though I didn't have much to offer, he could do something with it. He also had some amazing counseling skills that I don't think too many people were aware of. When I was in high school, Mom and I were fixing dinner, and a lady called who was a church member and said, my alcoholic son is coming to your house and he's got a gun. And so Mom and I are like 20 feet away, setting the table in the dining room, and Dad's casually, calmly talking to this man, sitting in the living room with a gun in his hand. I was really scared. And eventually, I don't know how long it took, they were gone. You know, Dad had calmed him down, talked him out of the house, he was gone. But I never forgot that, and my admiration for Dad really grew, and I realized how much I'd underestimated him after experiencing that with him. The last story I want to share is that he was really into words and quotes. And one of the famous ones that he loved to say, which most of us have almost memorized, was, Christianity, a life of consequence, lived in the atmosphere of greatness. He was also kind of funny sometimes in a sly way. And in that same letter he wrote me from Vietnam when I was a teenager, he had this at the end: have Phil get some pictures of yourself. You won't break it. One of my favorite memories was his Easter sunrise services. It was really inspiring to see what he could come up with every year. He'd have trombones processing, he'd have people singing, I Know That My Redeemer Liveth, and he'd release these gorgeous homing pigeons to symbolize the resurrection. My most treasured moment with my dad is when I was a little girl and he would read stories to me that were just the most beautiful thing to my young ears, because he read so beautifully, his expression, and he was just so kind to me, and I knew that he really loved me. Dad was truly a gift from God to all of us.
Thank you, each one. Helen's pride in you is certainly not misplaced. We're going to have a time now when those of you who are part of the congregation, if you would like to share a memory, we'll have either Jack or Wayne bring a microphone for you so that you can be heard. Please tell us your name and then share an anecdote, a story. All of these stories enrich all of us, but particularly Paul's grandchildren, who do not necessarily know the things that you know about him. So who will be brave and be the first to stand up? Vioma?
I was privileged to go to many meetings with Paul, and he practically always brought a gift to us, a gift from God. Nothing that any of you could have made. It was a beautiful rose from his garden. A single rose, and we appreciated that so much.
Thank you, Vi.
I had the special privilege of working with Paul on adult education. My background is in education. Paul's being in the life of Jesus